David, AutoCAD has all kinds of controls for your drafting settings, right?
Right, and I mean, you got to remember, most people still use AutoCAD for drafting, for two-dimensional drafting. So being able to control all those drafting settings is important. Well, I used to have to go to my drafting settings dialog box to make any of those changes, something like changing a polar tracking angle. Now I can just right-click in my status bar and I have all those angles available to me right there. Same thing with object snap. I no longer have to do multiple clicks to be able to turn various object snaps on and off. I can do it right from my status bar.
Saves you a lot of clicks.
It really does.
What about dynamic input? Do you use that?
Well, I think that's one of the biggest advantages, biggest changes in the last 4 or 5 releases, because especially now that we're working with larger monitors, it takes time and effort to look back down in the command window. And so now I don't have to look down in the command window. All the prompts are right there at the cursor as I'm working, and of course we're always watching the cursor.
You've taught AutoCAD a lot, right?
I've taught AutoCAD at the college level. You have to watch. I always tell them, you've got to look at the command window. That's where AutoCAD is asking you, telling you what you need to do next. Well, now you don't even have to look at the command window. You could turn the command window off and get that extra real estate back, because the prompts are going to be right there adjacent to the cursor.
That's a good point. It's not just the time you save always looking at the command window, but it's the
getting more space
AutoCAD
back.
display.
A lot of the changes that have been made to the interface have been about giving you more room inside the drawing window to be able to work.
That's a great
So being able to turn off the command window entirely is another way to do that.
And with the dynamic input, not only then are you seeing it at the cursor, saving that space, and you can control like the color and how big.
Right, you can make the prompt bigger. For those of us who are starting to, lose a little bit of that visual acuity, I can make that bigger. The other thing, though, that we've got now with 2010 is quick properties. So a lot of times when you're working in AutoCAD, you need to change the layer that something is on, or the color, or the line type, and before we'd have to go back to the properties palette to do that. But now I can select an object and I can have a little mini dialog pop up adjacent to that object. It's a quick properties palette, and I can quickly go into there. The name is exactly what it is. I can quickly go into that properties palette, and it's going to show me just a small subset of the properties of that object, and I can go in and make a fast change and continue working. I don't have to go back all the way to the properties palette.
And I really noticed the difference with that with something like dimensions, where it just goes on and on, right? In the properties palette, there's so many options, so many properties to choose
and you
from.
can control that. So you can go in and choose which properties you want to appear in that palette.
So it's just
how many
few
properties
that really
you want
makes
to appear.
sense.
Right.
Easy to find.
And then if it starts getting in the way, because of course every time you touch on an object, that quick properties palette comes up. It's very easy again on the status bar to toggle that on and off. If you know that you don't need the quick properties popping up right now, just turn it off so they're not constantly popping up.
Perfect. I think that's one of those tools that it was introduced into AutoCAD 2009, I think. Quick properties.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those tools that it tends to pop up and people are in a hurry and they turn it off and they never look back. But once you give it a try,
if you get used to working with it, I think you're going to find that it really improves the speed that you can work in the software.
I agree. I've found myself trying to turn it off, and then when it's not there, I'm like, I need it back. So yeah, good, great, thanks, David.
Well, you're welcome.